course, poetry can never be commonplace, but we have to find a way of getting across to our learners so that poetry find residence in their lives. Let the learners discover the beauty of poetry. The starting point, ladies and gentlemen, start a study of poetry close home to music, to popular music, and to rap music in particular. Every child these days listens to one or two rap artists, be it local, in Makitu, Israel, Slap D, Afunika, or the Dandy Crazy, Mozegeta, General Kanene. These, ladies and gentlemen, are masters of rhyme and rhythm. A start of the poetry journey with a popular song does the magic. Rap music. What is rap music? Rap is a style of popular music in which words usually improvised are spoken rhythmically and often in sentences over an instrumental backing. And Encyclopedia Britannica defines poetry as rap music as the competitive use of rhyming lines spoken over an ever challenging rhythmical bass. That is poetry, ladies and gentlemen. The advantage is that it is commonplace, and our learners already. So music lyrics is a magical starting point. Before the children even realize, they will have imbibed the basics of poetry, rhythm, rhyme, and figurative language, raindrops of wisdom. Here are some examples. Your Maps featuring Makitu, the song entitled Finally. To use the words of our learners, Your Maps is the happening thing in Zambian music scene. And here is some of the lyrics of the song Finally. Niwe chave mai wikinesi, ngasi ulipo ninesikinesi, mulungu niye witnessy. Now, if we pause there, we are looking at the end rhymes: weaknessy, sicknessy, witnessy. Now, what is more here is that Your Maps has brought in the element of mulungu niye witness. God is my witness. You know, that makes this offering even more enticing, more inviting to the learners, because God is the witness. Then it goes on and says, Monafi amasle queen bandilila. But ne when wefi mbandilila, bagai batila nshasa mbilila. So bandilila, mbandilila, sambilila. You see? Now, the language used here again is in currency in Zambia at the moment. The slave queens, everybody is talking about slave queens. So that again is an attraction to this type of music, which we are now using to introduce poetry in our lessons. Tulea Tule Kulaka, another popular offering by Chef 187, and it goes Tulea Tule Kulaka, Finch Mwashoka, Teshu Komano Mwashota, Inchila Nyukungo Komwa Shoka. Tulea Tule Kulaka, Finch Mwashoka, Teshu Komano Mwashota, Inchila Nyukungo Komwa Shoka. You know? Again, you can identify those end rhymes there. When we move on to Eminem. Eminem is another very, very popular American rap artist. And what is important, interesting in his lyricism is rhyme schemes, you know. So they are enjoying Eminem, but in the process, we are teaching them rhyme schemes. Hey, yo, my pen and paper cause a chain reaction to get your brain relaxing. The zany acting manic in action, a brainiac in the fact, son. You mainly lack, you look insanely attraction work when just a fraction of my tracks ran. My rhyming skills got you climbing hills. So we are introducing rhyme schemes in Eminem, but we are also looking at internal rhymes, which we can identify already, you know, in the highlighted darker shade on your screen, as you can see. We are also identifying alliteration, you know, the collocation of consonant sounds in pen, paper, you know. So they can see these things, and so they realize that what they see as just rap music is actually poetry, and they can identify those poetic things. Moving on to Glow of Love by Change. I used to enjoy this song very much. I think in the 80s, that is when it was made popular. And again, you can identify the darker shades there and be able to take the learners through. And if you brought the song and play it back to them, you are even giving a more, you know, effective impact on the children and drawing them not just to the poetry, to the music, but to yourself as well. And each time the subject literature comes on their timetable, they will be running to your class to come and enjoy these things. So Glow of Love by Change, flowers blooming, morning dew. And the beauty seems to say, it's a pleasure when you treasure, oh, that's new and true and gay. Easy living, and we are giving what we know we are dreaming of. We are one having fun, walking in the glow of love. Beautiful. You can see the taste of that. So we have internal rhymes in treasure, pleasure, treasure, pleasure, treasure, living, giving, you know, and also it's the rhythm, the musical effect as you recite the lines. It's a pleasure when you treasure. Oh, that's new and true and gay. Easy living, and we are giving what we know we are dreaming of. We are one who having fun walking in the glow of love. And I can't sing anymore, but that's the effect that comes through there. We move on to Tupac, another very popular artist with our learners. And the song is Brenda's Got a Baby. Now, the baby is in the trash bowling. You know, the baby has been thrown in the trash there and it's crying. Mama can't help her, but it hurts to hear her calling. Brenda wants to run away. Mama say, you're making me lose pay. The social workers here every day. Now Brenda's got to make her own way. Can't go to her family. They won't let her stay. You know, the message is deep there. You know, but other than the message, we are looking at bowling and calling. Away and way, pay and day, stay. You know, those end words at the end that give us the end rhymes. Change is another popular offering from Tupac. He may be gone, but his blessings keep coming back, and they are here to last. I see no changes. All I see is racist faces. Misplaced hate makes disgrace to races. I wonder what it takes to make this one better place let's erase the wasted. Take the evil out of the people. They'll be acting right, because black and white are smoking crack tonight. And the only time we chill is when we kill each other. It takes skill to be real, time to heal each other. And although it seems heaven sent, we ain't ready to see a black president. It ain't a secret, don't conceal it. So again, we have the internal rhymes, you know, chill and kill, those are internal rhymes within the line. Skill, real, heal. Again, within then we have saint and president. So we are teaching the children as it were. So we are saying, let's get back to basics. If we have to win these our learners into loving poetry once again. And I'm saying, if we went into the early childhood classroom, you will see how colorful it looks. There are all sorts of things, but all the things that we find there are very, very familiar. The teacher will ask the children to bring sticks, for example, and they'll be using them to count. The teacher will ask them to bring clay that they've now shaped into a kind of mold, and they'll be using that to make all sorts of shapes. It's a very colorful classroom, and both the teacher and the learners are enjoying themselves. Never a dull moment in that early childhood classroom, because you know the concentration span of those little ones is very, very short. And if the teacher has no imagination, you will lose them very quickly. They will start crying, they will start jumping up and down, they will start fighting, and all sorts of things. So how does the early childhood teacher get by? They get by singing Wanungi Angeni Ngeni, Wanungi Angeni Ngeni. You know, it makes the classroom lively. The other one is Wenkoa Mpelako Rice. Wenkoa Mpelako Rice, Wenkoa Mpelako Rice. And as they are doing that, they are actually you know, striking their nails, squeezing nails on nails, and it is believed that once they do that, when they look at their nails, finally they will see those white things that look like rice. And the teacher has captured the attention of the children, and she's teaching the concepts that she wants to teach using that very basic, you know, but familiar kind of situation to the children. And the teacher captures the attention of the children. She brings in Lion King, for example, and on that screen, the children, because they enjoy Lion King at home, are also enjoying Lion King here in the classroom. So the idea is to capture the attention of the learners. And how do we capture them? Take them to a familiar ground. Take them to Makitu, take them to MC Wabuino, because those are the artists they are listening to, you know, and they will be very happy to be in that classroom. And we are saying that the pedagogy of from known to unknown iliche. That is what we all learned in college, that we want to move from unknown to unknown in order to give our learners, you know, that transition into what we now want to teach them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where I want to end, but I'm saying poetry, depending on how we introduce it to our learners, will either capture them or lose them altogether. Like we said, that forensic type of arrangement where you bring already made answers and you read out the poem to them and you tell them this is the answer. But a child who reads through and says, but what about this? How do you handle such a situation? Then you introduce doubt in the learning situation, and once the element of doubt comes through, you will have butchered your lesson and lost your learners. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a little poetry for you, and I would want to end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Hello, are we together?
Yes.
Yes, Chief. Can you go to the last slide, please?
Last slide. Which one is the last slide, Chief?
The one you are showing us. This is the last slide.
Yeah.
Give us everything that is, good.
So I'm saying thank you for your attentiveness, ladies and gentlemen. I salute you, and let me use this phrase. Lord, let this cup pass. Thank you. It has passed.
Thank you, Chief Manda. Thank you for this elaborate presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where Chief Manda ends. And as our custom is, we invite questions and contributions. You can unmute yourself or use the raise your hand feature on your device.
Hello, host. Hello, host. Host. Hello, host.
You've lost the host.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm here. Sorry, I was speaking, not knowing I was muted. I saw Mr. Kabungo. I think he wanted to say something.
Well, I basically just wanted to thank Chief Manda for the fine presentation. As we all know, poetry, indeed, as he has pointed out, has been one of the areas that have given our learners issues. Mostly you find even in the exam, after they have encountered paper 1, you find that most of them do not even come to write paper 2. And the reason is teachers want to make it appear as though it's a very difficult component altogether. But if we were to use such approaches like the one he has given this evening, you tend to demystify this notion by our learners, and certainly they will begin to appreciate and enjoy, especially the aspect of using music that is common with them. That way they will move from the known to the unknown. That's one part I appreciated so much. And thanks very much, Mr. KANYAMPA and Chief Lazaro and the others for this wonderful idea that you have actually started. That's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kabungo. Thank you so much. Chief Lazaro, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Just like Mr. Kabungo said, I think this is a very wonderful and enlightening presentation. I must confess I'm one of those that dread poetry. of the three aspects of literature, prose, poetry, and drama, I think poetry for me is the most dreaded. Going by what the Chief has driven us through, I think with practice, and indeed, if we can have Chief more regularly on this forum, it will unlock the fear that most of us have. Alongside what Mr. Kavungo said, you know, it is a fact that if we teachers can dread poetry in the manner in which we do, what about the learners? It is a fact that, and I know it has come to my attention, and I think it has reached Chief Manda's attention as well, that these days, performance in literature has gone down, all because of paper one, which has that one poem. And we've seen and we've heard of candidates who immediately after writing paper one, they give up and say, I'm not going anywhere. And they don't go to write paper two and they lose marks. I mean, the results are nullified just like that. It is a suggestion I would want to make to our Chief Manda, that maybe using the powers, could we actually use the principle of simple to difficulty in terms of examining? Can we be starting with paper two and end with paper one, the way it is with English language right now? I submit.
Okay, thank you, Chief Lazaro. I'm sure Chief Manda has taken note. Would you like to react to any of the contributions? Yes. Go on, please.
Can I contribute?
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I agree with both contributions. Yes, paper one has brought issues in as far as literature examining in Zambia is concerned. And as Chief Lazaro was saying, I was already noting it down here that perhaps we could start with paper two, you know, which seems to be a more friendlier aspect. But let me also hasten to say that if we drill, perhaps drill is the wrong word, because if we school our learners properly, we systematically take them through the pedagogy of the known to the unknown, we might not have these issues, you know, because you see, the learners shouldn't dread paper one simply because they'll find one poem in there, just one poem in there. No, it shouldn't be that way. And I know for sure that the learners that I have taught myself as a teacher of literature have enjoyed poetry, you know, and they perform very well in that paper. In fact, if the learners are properly schooled or properly taught, that's a very simple aspect of paper one, because all you're asking them is to identify the rhyming scheme, for example, to identify the metaphors, to identify the similes. You know, it's just identifying those, and that's it. And the marks are almost just like free, a donation to them. But again, it's because of this same phobia where both the learners and the tutors are not very comfortable with the subject. But point taken, when we we teach and when we examine, I think we start with paper two and end with paper one. Perhaps that would be the way of capturing our learners so that they go through the entire exam. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. Margaret Nambao, you can go ahead with your contribution or question.
Margaret, go ahead.
Nambao, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
All right.
And drop the hand.
Am I? I don't want to be seen. I'm in the dark.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's
Just go ahead.
Just
All
drop
right.
your hand.
Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. I'm happy that there are people that really know the stuff. And when I heard the Chief Lazaro saying he dreads poetry, I think that makes the two of us. If only I was taught by a man like Mr. Manda, probably I would have loved it, because I could feel the concepts coming in through and the practical part that he brought in, which made the poetry to be something that is not so difficult. I can give an example of myself. When I was at Wunza doing my first degree, I had probably merits and distinctions on my, certificate. Only in poetry taken by Mbwai is where I had a credit, meaning that I had no interest in poetry. These other things, probably I was good at them, but just that is the one that has really messed up my script, and I don't like it. And since then, I tended to hate, the poetry and the literature altogether. Thank God I'm now specializing in reading and writing, which is literacy. Now, my point is, even as others have alluded to, the whole problem is cyclic, and it all comes from the teacher. Did the teacher who went for training to teach literature interested in that? And what was the attitude towards the learning of that subject? Because if the teacher is not interested and they only go with the answered poems in the classroom for the purpose of passing an exam, then we are reading a wrong way, because that teacher will graduate quite all right, and then they enter into a class and then they will not present the literature as it were supposed to be done. So it all leads back to the teacher. How many of our teachers, are interested or have a passion, for teaching literature and poetry, to be specific? So let's look at a teacher as well. So these meetings that you have started are very good, because if more people are invited and they hear from you, probably they will have the right direction into the teaching of poetry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. I don't know, Chief Manda, you have any reaction to that?
No, I just want to thank Margaret for coming clean. And it's a shame that your certificate was dented by.
It was dented, yes.
That poetry, section. It's a pity. It's a pity. But I hear you. And to our facilitators, to George, for example, to Chief Lazaro, please let's encourage more interaction of this nature, and let's invite more teachers so that they get to interact with poetry, as it were.
Exactly.
And as we said, as I alluded to in the presentation, I said as long as we are given to speech, we are all poets waiting to be published. That is very true. When we speak poetry. So why do we hate poetry? So I hear you, Margaret, and thank you very much again for those wonderful words to me.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief Lazaro.
Thank you. I just want to indeed alert Chief Manda. I've known Chief Manda for a long, long time, and he's the one who has at least planted some grain of love for poetry in me. You see, the phobia for, it's not hatred actually, it's the phobia for poetry begins right from college, because the way we were taught, and I think this is the way we transmit to our learners. We were, we just they planted a seed for phobia for poetry, because we were told, actually, some of us were taught in our lectures that of the three, poetry is not something to play with. It's for the intellect, it's for the, it was described in that manner. And indeed, it was very difficult. And we were given, those very difficult poems to crack, that left us directionless as we went into the field. And it also made us realize that to understand poetry, you needed to just be gifted in that field. Like Chief Manda, he has loved poetry all along, and and it has paid off. Personally, I've learned a lot from Chief Manda. Now, Chief Manda, can you move us to the slide above? Yes.
Which one
just that one? Yes.
Yeah.
No. The one below now. The one on the references.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, no, Chief Manda, not this one. I'm not interested in your portrait. I'm interested in the.
Which
okay,
one?
this one. This very one, yes. I just want to indicate to all those that are tuned in that this book, Recreation, an anthology of poetry and short fiction. The author is Chief Manda. If you go through, I've read this book from front to back cover. It just enriches you and makes you actually start and begin to appreciate poetry. When Chief Manda was presenting, he cited some of the poems from this book, except maybe we could have gotten carried away when he says from recreation. He was not talking about the biblical recreation. He was talking about this book. Okay, he was talking about this book. I would rather and appeal to all the practicing teachers of literature to have this book. It's a must book. Of course, alongside Monica Preteni, what book is that? That blue book. We need to equip ourselves with these books, because interacting with this book, you are directly interacting with Chief Manda, who's very gifted in poetry. And also, it will give you a pathway to phone Chief Manda for clarifications on a number of things. I think let's build ourselves using that avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Lazaro. I was actually coming to this part of the book. If you would like a copy, please. I think I can ask Chief Manda to give us his phone number. Those who don't have, I have had this book, I think, since it was published in 2019, and those of you who do not have copies, you need to get in touch with him or Chief Lazaro. This book is very, very, very helpful. Okay.
Yes.
Do we have any other?
George, those who don't have should contact you. First of all, they should contact me.
Okay. Okay, Chief.
I have more copies than the author.
Okay.
That's Chief Lazaro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So anyone else with a question or contribution from the audience?
Dr. Munda, are you there? Doc, are you there?
I
Monica,
can see him
there?
in the meet. Monica is muted, but she's there.
No, it's Dr. Monde who's muted. Monica is not muted.
Even her audio is not connected. It's just the video.
Okay. Sylvia, how are you? Sylvia, unmute yourself and respond to my greeting. Annie McDonald, how are you? Desmond Njovu, how are you? Chitebeta Lasto,
I'm okay.
how are you?
Hello. Hello.
Who is that now? Monica?
Sylvia. No.
Sylvia, how are you? You people, can you remove the videos we see you? What are you hiding? Better, yes. Charles, remove your video. Desmond, good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, are you teaching poetry? Or you now start?
Immediately. So I'm actually a photo, and I appreciate the support of the team even to share it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's actually very good and it is helping me a lot.
Yeah.
How are you?
Charity, are you there? Okay.
Charity is there.
I'm here, though not feeling well. But I've been following the program. Thank you so much for the invitation.
How is Chingola?
Chingola is fine.
Okay.
It's fine. No buffering.
Okay. Any more contributions before we close? No? Muloke.
We are very happy.
We
are practicing poetry now. I've learned a lot from the time the presentation started, although I came a bit late, but I've learned a lot. I'll get in touch with you over the books. We need those books.
Which books?
You're talking about the book for Chief MANDA.
Oh, okay. When you're talking to me, you have to specify.
Okay.
You have to specify because I have Monica, I have Chief MANDA, and I have Chief Lazarus book.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'll come back to you.
No problem.
Okay.
Soon after this meeting, call me so we arrange. I'll courier it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. And that goes for you, Desmond. You don't have this book, you need to have it.
Just like I contacted you for your book.
Huh?
Just like I contacted you for your book. I managed to get it, brother.
Okay. I think we are done, host.
Oh, there's a hand from Campbell McDonald. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, McDonald.
Thank you so much. My contribution is very simple. I really appreciate the input there. But then I'm also asking for the possibility of through people recommending some of these will become as end of universities and college. And like certain institutions where you are underbacked, then you go into the now field and then fail to perform. You end up scaring learners from taking these subjects effectively.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. McDonald.
I think I missed the submission.
He talked about submitting to colleges, these colleges and universities, that they. You can carry on, Sam, so that the chief can get you.
Oh, yes, I indicated to say it would have been better for recommendations to be made for these people, like these presenters, like Chief Manda here, to be recommended to be lecturers in some of these universities and colleges. And like, seriously, because some of us have been partially baked, you would say, and then you end up being scared of presenting, even maybe like handling the subject effectively. Hence, the learners do not take it, maybe, with all the interest that they need to have. Like the predecessor said earlier, we are like trained to be scared of the subject somehow. You are threatened with maybe so much detail of these literature things and poems, but then at the end of the day, they could have been simplified, then the interest developed, just like that.
Okay.
I think, can I come in?
Yes, you may.
Please.
I think what McDonald has said is valid, because sometimes there is a gap between the colleges and the teachers in schools. What happens sometimes that I've noticed is that you find that lecturers we found in some of these colleges are straight from university. They have never experienced the classroom situation, and then they go to teach other teachers. So there is that gap, there's no linkage. How I wish all the lecturers at one time they had to pass through classroom situation. It would be very, very much submit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chitepeta. That was the powers that be. We'll try to do our best, but the appointing authorities, especially universities, have a different approach to this. But I'm sure eventually we'll get to have people listen to these. There's a Dr. Mwans, I think, who is a member of our LATAZ groups, who's a staff at University of Zambia.
Yeah, but yes, that's a well presented submission. But also, you should also not run away from the fact that these things are also personal. The university would want to have high-profiled people in some of these areas, but the individual might not really be interested in working for the university. Especially the fact that most people who seem to be very enlightened, Chief Manda inclusive, those have chosen the private sector route. To unroot someone from the private sector and say go in the public sector, it's something again, something else, But then for me, I would just to consolidate the submission, let's strengthen these innovations like the one we are doing right now, because these are very powerful in my view. These are very, very powerful. Sorry. You know, every Sunday we interact in this manner. We will never be the same. We'll always build each other, because out of this interaction, you discover that no one is the monopoly of knowledge. We are all learning from each other. I think let us strengthen this, some of these innovations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much. Do we have any other submission from the audience? So that we don't leave anyone unattended to. Sylvia. Mr. Mlea. Oh,
that's Dr. Mulea. Dr. Mulea, unmute yourself. And remove the video. We want to see your face, doctor.
Hello.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, Dr. Mlea.
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Mlea.
Yes. Yes. Hello.
Please go ahead.
Hi, Charity. I can see you. Uh-oh.
I think Dr. Mlea has the network challenge. Okay. I think the video is unmuted.
Okay. You seem not to have any more contribution.
Yeah, I was thinking, Dr. Mlea wanted to say something. I think he was struggling to find the right spot.
I seem to have connected both the phone and the laptop. Here's that echo sound.
Okay. All right. I'd like to thank first Chief Manda for enlightening us with a little bit of poetry. And I would like also to thank you all participants in today's presentation. You have been a lively audience with contributions and questions, which is why this program exists. Just a request, as whenever you join the webinar, always ensure that your microphone is muted so that we do not get feedback, especially that we are recording and streaming live the presentation on YouTube. So if we get feedback from everyone else, it distorts the quality of the presentation. And so let's ensure that our microphones are muted until that time that we are to give questions or want to make contributions when it's opened for that. Otherwise, thank you for your continued support. We'll keep bringing this program to you as long as we are there to learn. Next week, we are going to have a plenary session. So we'll have more discussions on literature in English, and it will be more of a plenary session, so we can prepare our contributions and questions. Who have these men and women from the literature expertise, so that we can get a more details and clarifications on various matters. So we'll give you details in our poster to advertise. Let's invite our friends. Once we share the link, we can share with our friends, our colleagues that we know are in this field, so that we have more people participating. This recording, you will find it on YouTube. Just search LATAZ Southern. You will find the page, subscribe, and you can have access to this particular presentation and even the previous 9 that we have had. Otherwise, thank you. Have a productive week ahead and have a good night. We can exit the meeting. I will not close it, but we can exit now. That marks the end of our program.
Thank you.